Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and I was able to find the interview that one of Richard Allen's new public defenders gave right as the probable cause affidavit was made public, and some of the information in the charging documents was made public. So this was an interview that he gave in 2022. Now, this is, in no way unusual, a local news outlet getting a local public defender to, opine or give his thoughts on a fairly big case around, the area would not be unusual. What is unusual is that given that he has made public statements about the case, that he was picked as part of a two-person team to now be a public defender on this case is very unusual. Very, if not completely, look, it looks bad. The optics of this are terrible. The fact that he will, in this interview, opine that the ballistics evidence is damning or that tool mark evidence, and I know we're going to hear the shrieks of a Nicholas Starro from across the world that, and an Ian Runkle from other law tubers, that ballistics evidence are not a one-to-one match, which he is, going to actually claim in this video, or at least something akin to that. Uh, that is particularly damning as his prior defense team, who are currently trying to be his legal or, his private counsel, and his, former defense team was trying to get the ballistics evidence thrown out. This is a complete 180 from the way his past defense team was thinking. There was a mechanism by which J Judge Julie Gull was, could have made this look much less incestuous. Judge Gull oversees the county in which Fort Wayne, not Fort Wayne, Fort Wayne, where these 2 attorneys were picked from, you know, is. She could have gone to a statewide public defender pool. She did not do that. Yet again, this is a an optical blunder, and then the state and Judge Francis Gull wonders why it is that everyone is beginning to think that this is nothing but a shenanigans-riddled, crazy pants sort of conspiracy theory nut. I mean, this has gone crazy, but let's listen to him again. At this time, this was 2022. I do wanna set this up. This is not unusual to have a local news channel, get a local public defender to kind of explain to those of us who are, you know, maybe not crazy, trial junkies, what is going on in a very highly publicized case. So let's listen to him. But what is odd is that then he is picked to be the replacement counsel, and he has made completely divergent statements from what the defense counsel had made and strategized previously. It's just
In the Delphi case.
There have been.
it's just
We
all the
had the change of
crazy.
venue request filed,
Yes.
and the probable cause was released.
Also, I
So
think my
let's
mom
start
had
with
that
the change
blouse.
of
Can we
venue
can we
request.
put the '80s back
The
in
defense filed
Pandora's
that,
box?
and this was kind of somewhat expected, right?
When we had talked last week, that was something that I said we need to be keeping an eye on, and here it is.
So what happens now? What's the process?
Well,
So this is,
once the
Attorney
defense
Scremin.
files that under criminal rule 12, the prosecution has an opportunity to object if they want, and they would do that in writing, and then another hearing will actually be sent where evidence will be presented. Now, I've read through that motion. There's a lot of compelling statistical evidence, it seems, in that motion. So they'll have an opportunity to present that evidence. If Judge Gull were to grant a change of venue, then the parties would have an opportunity to agree on where they would move it to what county it would be. And if they can't, then that becomes a little more difficult and protracted process of eliminating other counties, and then ultimately the judge would decide.
Would the jurors come from that new county then, or could they come from other places but didn't have to go to that new
No,
venue?
if a new venue is granted, once they pick that venue, whatever county that is, then yes, the jury pool would come from that county.
Okay. And are we expecting the jury?
And we have found that the court case has been moved to Allen County. The jury, thus far, and as far as I'm aware of, right to this minute, the jury would be coming from Allen County. So Judge Frances Gull is from Allen, or she presides over Allen County. These public defenders are from Allen County, and the jury would come from Allen County.
Jury to be sequestered throughout the course of this trial because of the attention that it's received?
That's really too hard to predict
Okay.
at this point, but it certainly is a possibility. It's,
Right.
it's something that we saw in the Matthew Kramer trial, and it would certainly be something that could potentially happen in this trial as well.
Right. In the change of venue request, it did mention 150 miles as a destination. Allen County is 100 miles away from Delphi. Do we think Allen County could be in the possibilities of the trial coming here?
It's certainly possible because there's such a large jury pool here. But again, both sides are going to get an opportunity to see if they can come to an agreement. So I would guess that it's going to be a county that at least is going to have a large enough jury pool to accommodate this type of trial.
Right. Do we have a sense of when we might know a decision on this?
Well, this is a fairly short time frame. The prosecution has about 10 days to object if they're going to, and then a hearing will be set. And again, Judge Gull rules on these things in a pretty expeditious manner. So I think we'll probably know in the next couple weeks or so whether a change of venue will be granted.
Okay. Now, today, Judge Gull also ordered the probable cause to be released, a redacted version
Yes.
of it. So let's start with what is redacted in it.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of witness names that are redacted from it, which, again, as we had mentioned last week, would be normal in any probable cause.
Yeah. So what stood
Okay,
out to you
so
in the
this is
probable?
also concerning that he's had multiple times where he's opined on this case in public. Again, not unusual when one is just being asked his general public defender ideas about a random case that has large public interest, but he is being picked to be a public defender in this case after the fact that he's made all these public statements. Make it less obvious, state.
Probable cause, seeing it now for the first time.
Reading through that, a couple things that stood out was the consistency of talking about the description of the person that a number of witnesses saw, a male, that male's clothing
You saw
description, and
consistency in
the
the
time
public
frame
in the probable cause
of
affidavit?
being around the
What
bridge,
were you
and then
smoking?
also the forensic analysis of the bullet that was found near the victim's bodies.
So the bullet, though, was not a spent bullet, correct?
That's my understanding from the probable cause. Yes, it was not fired.
Okay, if not fired. So how do you do forensic analysis on a not fired bullet?
You all, I want you to silence those faraway shriekings of Ian Runkle and Nicholas Starro that are going to be coming up, because this man is going the the absolute dumbness that's going to come out of his mouth will astound you.
Well, there's two different ways of conducting that type of analysis. If a bullet is fired out of a gun, then you can conduct an analysis on the projectile itself as it twists and comes out of a barrel. There may be different nicks and scrapes and things on the bullet, but any bullet casing that's been ejected out of a semi-automatic handgun, whether that gun has been fired or not, it is pushed into the bottom part of the barrel, and then when the slide is racked and the bullet's ejected, even if it hasn't been fired, there's still an extractor that grabs the edge of that bullet, that flips it out, and that process often, not always, but often leaves marks and dents, and those marks and dents can be very specific to the weapon that it came out of. So even if it hasn't been fired in a laboratory, they can go back, put a similar type of shell casing in it in a laboratory environment, eject that round, and then compare the two.
Do you think that there are still more details in this case that will come out beyond what is in the probable cause?
There may be, things like DNA analysis. It can take months, and we were looking at timeframes here of October. Often, DNA analysis takes much longer than that. So there may be some other evidence out there that we don't know about, or other tests that are still pending. Absolutely.
Right. And one thing the prosecution said is that there could be other people involved. So that could be some evidence that maybe we don't know about yet.
Absolutely. They don't
I
put
mean, that's amazing because now they're stuck with no, no, there's no other people involved, I swear. We're super serial, Mr. Allen, all 5'4" of him, and look, semi-fluffy, look, same, and no stones thrown. But yes, I mainly there's 26 seconds left. I mainly wanted to show that part. Um, look, the fact is that let me get out of I do not want stop it.
don't put everything into a probable cause. It's just kind of the initial story that
So, I mainly wanted to showcase that he was opining about the ballistics evidence that the former defense wants to throw out because not only have multiple Supreme Courts, opined about the overuse or overstatement of the validity of the use of ballistics. Look, you can say l can be associated with, but not 100% identified as. And if we go to our lovely YouTuber and lawtuber, Ian Runkle, no one has taken up his challenge yet, as far as I'm aware of. So, the fact that this defense attorney has now gone on record to say, there are it is very likely that they can match this unspent shell casing to Richard Allen's weapon in a laboratory, regardless of if he didn't give that validity or say 100% that that happened. That is still, in my case, giving that state argument validity. All the state has to do is put this, interview on in court and say, "Look, your own defense says that that's pretty good, isn't it?" I It boggles my mind that this is allowed to happen in a United States courtroom. This has absolutely looks like a communist like kangaroo court. I know that the judge has fired back to the Indiana Supreme Court, says that the, you know, original defense was grossly negligent. I have read, Bradley Rossi's, you know, basic, court filings of why he thinks that the judge should be pulled off of the case, and honestly, I'm on his side. I think that attorneys Rossi and attorneys Baldwin have done yeoman's work on this case. I think that the state thought that they were just gonna kinda sit back and roll over, and now that they've realized that they were there to fight, they needed to get them out. I think that they wanted to seal everything up. I think that they don't want the public knowing anything about this case. I think that the fact that this man opined that the probable cause affidavit was similar in any way. I understand that eyewitness statements can vary, but explain to me how a purple PT Cruiser, a mini SUV, a smart car turns into a black 1995 Ford Focus. I'm not sure. Explain that to me Mr. Public Defender, because I am confused, because I've read that probable cause affidavit at least a gajillion times doing this case, and that is probably the dumbest, uh, thing I have ever heard, but I am not a lawyer, and maybe I have not read enough probable cause affidavits to realize that this is in fact the gold star of probable cause affidavits, and I'm not actually being sarcastic here. Maybe this is just how probable cause affidavits are, and I just don't know because I like I said, as I've said many times, I am not a lawyer. I am just a mouthy redhead on the internet. But what I do know is that if you have a public defender who has already said that he, thinks the ballistics evidence might, fry your ass, I definitely wouldn't want him defending me. And meanwhile, Mr. Allen still sits in prison in solitary confinement for his safety. So that's my update that I have. I was able to find this interview and I did want to get it out for you guys. So I hope you have a good Saturday. I will see you in just a little bit. I think I'm going to go on with Salbert and we are going to do something. If not, if I don't see you for the rest of the weekend, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Say something nice to yourself and something nice to someone else if you go out. And I will see you in a little bit. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, guys.